Jody, a 29-year-old working from home. I've been married to Huey for 3 years now. Before I started working from home, I was a consultant at a major corporation managing online operations. I never intended to switch to a home-based job, but getting pregnant made me consider freelancing, so I left my position, and here I am. Thanks to my marketing skills, I've been taking on more work consulting and directing online operations, making a decent income. Huey doesn't quite understand what I do. He doesn't even know that I earn money, so he seems to think of my job as just a hobby. Switching to working from home has allowed me more time, and I was able to spend a peaceful pregnancy and safely gave birth to our daughter Caddy. The first month after, I stayed at my parents' house, managing somehow with their help. However, Huey kept asking when I was coming back, so I cut my planned 3-month stay to 1 month and returned to our apartment. Since then, I've been balancing work and childcare well enough, without financial issues. But one day, my mother-in-law, Olivia, suggested we live together. We got along reasonably well with my parents-in-law, maintaining a healthy distance, so when the idea of living together came up, I wasn't too opposed. Still wary of the typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts, I agreed on the condition that we build a duplex. The parents-in-law were happy to live with us under any conditions, so I quickly found a construction company that listened to our needs and oversaw the purchase and construction of the land. About 6 months after the discussion of living together began, our new home was completed. It's a type of duplex with shared parts, including a common entrance. The second floor has a small kitchen and living room. It's not too big, and the construction stayed within our budget, so I wasn't too worried about the finances. When the house was finished, the parents-in-law were delighted, and I was pleased with their reaction. Olivia said she would take care of Caddy, our daughter, which made me happy, thinking it would make my work even easier. But those expectations were quickly shattered. As soon as we started living together, Olivia began to impose housework on me. Even during work, she'd come into my office without caring. "I'm hungry. Make me something right now. Hurry up and do the laundry. There's dust everywhere. If you don't clean, I won't stop sneezing because of my allergies. Caddy is crying. She's noisy. Do something about it." It was impossible to concentrate on work with all these interruptions. As a result, I often had to work late into the night, and coupled with taking care of Caddy, my mental and physical health began to reach its limit. When I told Huey about Olivia, he never took my side. "You're a wife. You should naturally obey. It's your fault for playing on your computer. I work hard, and you're just playing. That's pathetic." He would escalate his attacks with every complaint I made. Even when I said, "I'm not playing, I'm seriously working," he wouldn't believe me. Cody, my father-in-law, seemed to share Olivia and Huey's sentiments. "Work from home is hardly serious. It can't be more than a hobby," and didn't trust in my work at all. Because of this, I started to doubt myself, fearing I might be worthless or eventually abandoned due to my inadequacy. Then one day, when Huey was off work and everyone was home, while I had Caddy lying next to me as I worked, Huey burst into the room with a loud noise. "Come to my parents' room right now," ignoring Caddy, who started crying, and leaving the room. He must have known Caddy was there, so was that loud noise necessary? Doubting the sensibility of Huey and the parents-in-law who interrupted my work, I picked up the crying Caddy and went downstairs. Entering the living room, I found the parents-in-law and Huey talking happily. Perhaps I had reached my limit of irritation, as anger started to bubble up inside me. "What is it?" I asked quietly, sitting down with Caddy in my arms. The parents-in-law and Huey were still whispering something to each other. Feeling uneasy about their secretive behavior, I patiently waited for them to start the conversation. Then Olivia coughed exaggeratedly and glared at me with surprising words. "You, leave this house." I was confused by Olivia's abrupt statement. What did she mean by leave? Was she telling me to temporarily go back to my parents' house? What do you mean? I took a deep breath to calm myself and asked Olivia again, staring at her intently. "It means just what I said." She snorted and began to cross her arms arrogantly. Even as I looked to Huey for an explanation, he was just smiling continuously. Has he gone mad? Or is it me who's losing it? Why? I thought I needed to hear the reason calmly, so I first asked Olivia why she said that. Olivia's eyes lit up as if she was glad I asked, and with a smile similar to Huey's, she began to rant about how inadequate I was. "Every day you neglect housework, let Caddy cry incessantly, and just play with your computer and mobile phone. I don't know if you're relying on Huey's salary, but you never listen to advice, just like a parasite. Olivia continued, laughing heartily as if she found it amusing. I apologize for the housework, but I'm doing the basics. I also take good care of Caddy. She's quite a quiet child. I countered Olivia's accusations as much as possible. I can't just let go of my computer and mobile phone. I'm working. Isn't that understandable? Then Huey glared at me. Are you cheating or what? And he accused. What? I glared back at Huey, bewildered by his baseless accusation. Yes, Jody is cheating. Olivia joined Huey, pointing at me with a look of disgust. I was appalled at their audacity. I'm not cheating. I can show you my mobile phone right now. I took out my mobile phone to prove my innocence, but Huey just scoffed at it. Anyone can deceive with that. Can't trust you. Is that so? I realized arguing was pointless, and put away my phone. For now, we don't need someone like you. Parasites should move out immediately. Olivia continued to berate me. Move out quickly, she continued. I started to feel like maybe leaving with my daughter was the only option. However, there was one reason I couldn't decide to leave just yet. The duplex house. I was the one who paid for it, went to the construction company repeatedly, and was particular about the interior and exterior. Therefore, I can't just easily say, yes, sure, and leave this place. Moreover, the mortgage is still in my name, and I doubt Huey's salary alone could cover our living expenses. If I leave, my income goes too. Are you sure you can manage? I gave them one last chance to reconsider, but Huey scoffed. What income of yours? Don't make me laugh. We've been living off my salary alone until now. His ignorance made me feel almost sorry for him. I sighed deeply and turned to Olivia. Huey is quite a handful, even more than a 6-month-old daughter. Will you be taking care of him? Huey is high maintenance. He needs his towel, underwear, and pajamas ready after his bath, his shoes polished daily, his shirts ironed, suits deodorized and wrinkled free. If his morning coffee's strength is slightly off, he loses his temper like a madman. I doubted Olivia could handle such a needy Huey. I asked, offering Olivia a chance. I can do a better job than you, who's just been playing around. She scoffed. Besides, if you leave, Huey already has someone else in mind. Olivia, looking pleased, said something that she shouldn't have to Huey. What do you mean? I didn't miss a beat, and turned my gaze to Huey and Olivia. Olivia showed a look of regret and hastily averted her eyes. Huey glared at Olivia. Why did you say that? He whispered in a low voice. Explain what's going on. From their reactions, I gathered that Huey might have another woman. I glared intensely at Huey, prompting him to speak uncomfortably. Apparently, according to Huey, for several months he's been seeing a woman named Carol, a young lady in her early 20s who fell for Huey at first sight during a business encounter. After her advances, they started dating. Carol is beautiful, graceful, and has a wonderful personality, Huey says with a laugh. I couldn't believe it. Considering Huey's looks, I couldn't imagine such a young woman being interested in him. Half believing, I asked Huey for proof, thinking if it's true, I'd secure compensation. Huey showed me his WhatsApp history with Carol, and as expected, the messages were mostly from Huey, suggesting dates and compliments, but Carol seemed disinterested in anything beyond work, politely declining personal interactions. Moreover, she typically responded formally, with no stamps or anything, just simple replies. Stunned by Huey's smug face, I was at a loss for words. I took screenshots of the conversation, transferred them to my phone without permission, and saved them. You never know when they might serve as evidence. Understood. Then I'll leave. With all that had transpired, my affection for Huey had cooled off entirely, and I didn't care what happened to them anymore. I'll take Caddy with me, I declared. As Huey and the parents-in-law seemed pleased with my decision to leave, Huey's face turned serious, and his raised hands fell. What are you talking about? You can't raise Caddy without any income. That's right. Leave Caddy here. Don't be silly. Huey and the parents-in-law don't understand why I need to take her with me. As far as I'm concerned, I don't understand why I should leave my daughter in such a place. I've told you, I have an income. And why would I leave her with people who can't even take proper care of her? When Caddy grows up, she'll work hard, and I'll relax. Huey interrupted with his nonsensical talk as I was explaining why I wouldn't leave Caddy. What does he think of our daughter? My anger was building. He kept spouting selfish things, not realizing he's digging his own grave. He even plans to use our daughter as a tool. Very well, then let's decide the custody through court. Please prepare a lawyer. Until then, I'll take care of her. But I knew that arguing here would only complicate things further with Huey and the parents-in-law. With unwavering confidence that I wouldn't lose, I decided to initiate legal proceedings. Once they agreed, I began preparing to leave immediately. Over the next few days, I never left my daughter's side and got ready. I visited the construction company that helped build the house and explained everything. I asked if they knew any good real estate agents to sell the house. Nick, the president of the construction company, became my ally, assuring me they'd handle everything. They quickly arranged for the sale, and to my surprise, due to the house's recent construction, pristine condition, and excellent location, it sold for far more than I expected. Simultaneously, they found an apartment for my daughter and me, a great place at the lowest price due to my budget considerations. I expressed my gratitude and began preparing to move immediately. "Oh, have you already found a place?" While packing my dishes in the living room, Olivia asked with a laugh. "Yes," I responded briefly, feeling no need to elaborate. "It'll be lonely without you. Well, the only thing I'm thankful for is that you gave birth to Caddy." With a big laugh, Olivia walked away. As unpleasant as she was, I looked around. The sofa and dining table I had bought were too large for the apartment, so I decided to sell them. Next was the refrigerator, which I also bought. It was slightly large, but I decided to take it with me and marked it with a sticker. I put stickers on all the furniture and appliances I had bought and wanted to take, and took photos of the items I didn't need with my mobile phone. On the moving day, I purposely chose a day when the parents-in-law and Huey were away. Huey was at work, and the parents-in-law were called away to a community gathering. With the divorce papers Huey had given me in hand, I worked with the movers to transport my belongings. I had the construction company arrange for a waste removal service to pick up the unwanted furniture and other items. I steadily progressed with the move, and everything was finished within 2 hours. I left the house with Caddy. A few hours later, as I was arranging things in the apartment, the phone rang. It was Olivia. It was 5 in the evening. I had left before noon, so she must have just realized. I answered the call. "Jody, what's this about the house being empty?" Over the phone, Olivia seemed quite flustered and was yelling loudly. "Ah, those things were mine. I disposed of the ones I didn't need." "What are you talking about?" "Well, I bought them. I have receipts and other proofs of purchase, so there's no point in complaining," I said with a laugh, and Olivia, seemingly at a loss for words, raised a nonsensical uproar. "Oh, and I sold the house, so please vacate within a month," I said cheerfully, and Olivia sounded even more astonished. "Why would you do that?" "Since I built the house, it's in my name, and I've been paying the mortgage, so I decided to do as I pleased. So that's that." Olivia was still trying to say something, but I hung up the phone. After that, I received numerous calls from the parents-in-law and Huey, but I ignored them all. I needed to arrange the apartment quickly for Caddy's sake, and had no time for distractions. I also consulted with a lawyer, and we agreed all future communications would go through them. Months later, after repeated negotiations, I easily won custody of Caddy. The reasons were simple. I had ample financial resources. I had been the one caring for Caddy all along, and working from home allowed me to spend more time with her. Huey, who had assumed he would naturally win custody, was shocked and bitterly spat. "I don't need such a girl anyway," and stormed off. Relieved that I could finally live peacefully with my daughter, I felt a sense of calm settle over me. After I left,
"The parents-in-law and Huey haven't left yet. What should I do?"
I received a call from the president of the construction company. I simply replied, "Please evict them." And the president, knowing the situation and seemingly amused, laughed heartily and said, "Leave it to me." Before hanging up, I don't know exactly how the formidable-looking president persuaded Huey and the parents-in-law to leave, but I can imagine. A few days later, I received a report. "They've moved out," and I was impressed by the efficiency. Even that brought relief to my heart. But several months after the divorce, Huey contacted me. What? By then, the divorce was final, and the parents-in-law had somewhat given up, so I hadn't blocked his number, but I immediately regretted not changing my mobile phone number or maintaining the block.
"Ah, long time. I was just thinking, maybe you were starting to miss me by now."
What is he talking about? I felt more liberated than ever after the divorce, not having to care for him. I listened to Huey continue speaking. Huey was apparently dumped by Carol, and had thought I was his only option. The way he was dumped was laughable. He went to Carol right after our divorce.
We can be together right away.
When he told her, "Ew, don't flatter yourself," she responded very coldly. Misinterpreting her professional demeanor at the workplace, Huey visited her at home, resulting in a restraining order from the police. Huey claimed,
Carol betrayed me. I dumped that woman.
But frankly, I had no interest in his story. I hung up the phone while he was still talking and immediately blocked him. I blocked all messages and later changed my phone number, starting anew. I heard from mutual friends that after the incident with Carol, Huey had disputes with clients and was viewed negatively at work. Perhaps feeling too uncomfortable, he resigned. Unable to secure another job, he seemed to be struggling financially, constantly asking various people for loans. The parents-in-law are probably taking care of him, but I imagine his modest income is hardly sufficient for a stable life. As for me, I'm living a fulfilling life with Caddy, dedicating my present solely for her, which brings me the utmost happiness.
Oh, where are you now? We've already arrived at the hotel.
I was filled with anger at my mother-in-law's irritating words. Please stop it. Did you invite me with that intention from the beginning?
Don't say such things. I didn't realize you weren't here.
That's not true.
It's too late to come and pick you up now. Why don't you camp out there alone?
That's hilarious. Do it.
I could hear my sister-in-law's voice over the phone. My father-in-law and Cyrus are probably not nearby now.
It's a family trip, so don't bother us.
You're a nuisance when you're around.
They shouldn't have invited me in the first place if they were going to do something like this. My name is Valentina, and I'm a 26-year-old housewife. My husband, Cyrus, was originally my senior at work. I was attracted to his reliable and capable work, and we started dating, which led to marriage after a few years. Soon after we got married, we decided to live with my in-laws. I really wanted to live with just the two of us, but my mother-in-law suggested it.
Since you're coming to be my daughter-in-law, it's only natural that you live with us.
That's not relevant nowadays, is it? Both of you are still healthy.
Cyrus said that, but I couldn't refuse too strongly. I wanted to get along with my in-laws, and I didn't want to argue with my mother-in-law right after getting married. I decided to do as my mother-in-law said and nodded. I'm okay with living together.
Really? Well, if Valentina says so, I'm okay with it too.
Okay then. Nice to meet you, Valentina.
But looking back now, I should have refused with Cyrus at that time. Because since we started living together, I've been bullied by my mother-in-law almost every day.
Valentina, have you taken out the garbage?
No, not yet.
Why haven't you done it yet?
I was planning to do it all at once after finishing the morning cleaning.
Don't do whatever you want. You have to follow our way of doing things.
I thought I was acting efficiently to help in any way I could, but to my mother-in-law, I must have looked like an uncooperative daughter-in-law. I'm sorry. I'll take out the garbage right away.
This isn't your home. You have to follow our way of doing things.
Okay.
After taking out the garbage, you also need to clean the toilet, the bath, and do the dishes. You're a housewife, but you can't even do housework properly?
My mother-in-law complained like that, pushed all the housework onto me, and started watching a movie she had recorded while lying down on the sofa. I thought we would share the housework, but did my mother-in-law intend to push everything onto me from the beginning when she suggested we live together? I had no choice but to put up with it and do the housework every day, even though I thought it was unfair. And there's another person who harasses me. It's my sister-in-law, Cecilia. Cecilia graduated from college but hasn't found a job and has been living at home, playing every day. My mother-in-law seems to be very fond of her and spoils her. I didn't want to interfere with her situation, so I didn't mind at first. However, Cecilia began to treat me like a servant.
I want you to drive me to the station because I'm going to hang out with my friends today.
What? Now? Even though it was obvious that I was busy with housework, she asked me to do this. The station wasn't far away, so I could go there alone if I wanted to walk, but Cecilia always asked me to drive her. Can I do it after I finish hanging the laundry?
That would make me late for my appointment.
Cecilia's requests were always sudden. Okay. It would be helpful if you could tell me a little earlier next time. I also have my own schedule. I smiled, suppressing my anger at Cecilia's attitude of asking for things without considering my situation.
It was decided suddenly.
Cecilia answered without looking at me, staring at her phone. Is this how you ask someone for a favor? She's already an adult. I couldn't suppress my irritation with Cecilia, but I didn't show it on my face and took her to the station.
I'll probably be back around 10 p.m.
Cecilia only told me her return schedule without thanking me for the ride. She speaks as if it's natural for me to pick her up, but couldn't she at least show some gratitude? Does she still think I'm some kind of servant or something? But since I'm not related by blood, I can't get angry with Cecilia. If I make even a slight sarcastic remark, she'll probably report it to my mother-in-law. And then I'll get a lecture from her. That would be a hassle. I don't want to cause any trouble. So I had no choice but to put up with Cecilia's selfishness and listen to her. When I returned home with a sense of frustration, my mother-in-law yelled at me.
Hey! The laundry isn't done yet. Hang it up right away after you're done washing it. Otherwise, it'll smell.
I asked Cecilia if it was okay to do it after the laundry was finished, considering that she was going to be late. But I had to interrupt my work and take her because she said she would be late. Nevertheless, my mother-in-law was angry with me. It's really unreasonable.
Why can't you do housework in order?
I have to take Cecilia to the station.
No excuses. Do the laundry again.
In the end, I had to start the laundry all over again. I sighed and went back to doing housework. During the day, I'm being bossed around by my mother-in-law and Cecilia every day. But when Cyrus and my father-in-law come home from work, my mother-in-law's attitude changes completely.
Valentina, thank you for your hard work today. Thanks to you, the housework went smoothly.
She says such things with a smile. At first, I was confused by this change in attitude, but now I'm used to it.
How was dinner today? I made it while Valentina was teaching me. Is it delicious?
Yeah, it's delicious. The flavor is just right.
Really? I'm glad.
She probably doesn't want Cyrus and my father-in-law to think that she's pushing all the housework onto me. She speaks about cooking as if she made it herself. And in front of the two of them, my mother-in-law and Cecilia pretend to get along with me. Because of this, Cyrus and my father-in-law don't realize that I'm being bullied by the two of them. I've thought about consulting him about my mother-in-law and Cecilia several times, but I've always held back. Cyrus was close to both my mother-in-law and Cecilia, and I couldn't bring myself to say anything that would ruin the family relationship. But unfortunately, my faint hope that things would get better if I just put up with it never came true, and the harassment only escalated.
I wonder why Cyrus chose Valentina.
Cyrus has never had a good eye for people, so maybe he chose the wrong person?
Poor thing.
Recently, I've heard such backbiting comments that I can hear. As usual, the attitudes of the two have not changed, and Cecilia treats me like a servant and makes selfish demands. My mother-in-law pushes housework onto me and has recently started going shopping. Nevertheless, I didn't complain and managed to get by somehow. Then one day, Cecilia suddenly started saying that she wanted to go on a family trip.
How about going on a trip? We haven't gone as a family recently, have we?
That's a good idea. I was just thinking about wanting to go too.
The two of them invited my father-in-law and Cyrus with shining eyes.
A trip? Huh?
Right? It's good, isn't it? Even Dad must be tired. Go on a trip and relax.
That's right. Should we go on our next day off?
Let's do it.
It's something that Cecilia and mother-in-law have suggested anyway. I'll probably be left behind because I'm not just a family member. I thought that and didn't participate in the conversation. Then Cecilia asked me,
Valentina, you're going too, right?
Huh? Me too?
Of course. We're family.
Valentina should go too. She always works hard at housework.
I have a bad feeling about the two of them.
That's right. Valentina, don't hesitate and come with us.
In the end, I decided to participate in the trip because Cyrus said so, even though the two of them suggested it. On the day of the trip, Cyrus was driving, so I sat in the passenger seat. Since my father-in-law and Cyrus were also there today, I was relieved that they wouldn't blatantly harass me. I was so relieved. However, the incident occurred when we stopped at a rest area. On the way to the hotel on the highway, Cecilia started saying that she wanted to go to the restroom.
Huh? But we'll arrive at the hotel soon. It's just around the corner if we get off at the next exit.
Just stop at the rest area.
Okay.
Since she couldn't hold it, we had no choice but to stop at the rest area. Cecilia, my father-in-law, and Cyrus went to the restroom together, and my mother-in-law got off to throw away empty plastic bottles and trash. I didn't particularly want to go to the restroom, so I decided to wait in the car. When my mother-in-law finished throwing away the trash and returned to the car.
You should go to the restroom too.
No, I'm fine.
There's no more restroom ahead.
But Cyrus said we're already arriving at the hotel. Despite my refusal, my mother-in-law is trying to make me go to the restroom.
That's true, but it'll take a little longer. It would be a nuisance if you said you wanted to go to the restroom during that time, so go now.
I understand. My mother-in-law was so persistent that I reluctantly went to the restroom. I hurried to move so as not to keep everyone waiting. When I returned to the car as soon as possible, the car was no longer parked where it had been parked until a while ago. What's going on? I was stunned for a while, but I finally understood. I was left behind in a rest area with nothing. I panicked and tried to contact Cyrus, but the phone didn't connect. He probably didn't notice because he was driving. I called my mother-in-law, but she didn't answer the phone either. A small rest area with nothing but a restroom. I was full of miserable feelings after being left behind in such a place. If I was going to be harassed like this, I should have refused the trip from the beginning. Then, 30 minutes later, my mother-in-law called me.
Oh, where are you now? We've already arrived at the hotel.
I was filled with anger at my mother-in-law's irritating words. Please stop it. Did you invite me with that intention from the beginning?
Don't say such things. I didn't realize you weren't here.
That's not true.
It's too late to come and pick you up now. Why don't you camp out there alone?
That's hilarious. Do it.
I could hear Cecilia's voice over the phone. My father-in-law and Cyrus are probably not nearby now.
It's a family trip, so don't bother us.
You're a nuisance when you're around.
They shouldn't have invited me in the first place if they were going to do something like this.
Don't come here. Catch a taxi or something and go back to your parents' house.
Even if you say taxi, this is a highway, you know?
Then why don't you hitchhike? Well, no one comes to such a deserted rest area anyway.
That's why we won't call you anymore. We'll explain it to Cyrus and your father properly.
My mother-in-law unilaterally hung up the phone after saying that. What should I do now? When I was at a loss, a familiar car arrived. Huh? Cyrus?
Sorry.
The car was driven by Cyrus and my father-in-law. The two of them, who I thought had been skillfully manipulated by my mother-in-law, came to pick me up. Why did you come?
Actually, I knew.
They were harassing Valentina, and they were planning to leave Valentina behind today.
What do you mean? According to the story of my father-in-law and Cyrus, they had actually noticed that I was being bullied by them for some time. My father-in-law had even warned my mother-in-law to get along with me many times, but my mother-in-law stubbornly insisted that we were getting along well. In addition, since I didn't consult with anyone, they couldn't be sure if I was really being bullied. However, a few days ago, they happened to hear that my mother-in-law and Cecilia were planning to leave me behind, and finally became convinced.
So my father and I planned to punish my mother and Cecilia instead.
What kind of plan?
Leave the two of them behind at the hotel and let's go home.
What? I was surprised because I never thought that they would think of such a thing.
So we pretended to go along with my mother's act and left Valentina behind, even though I'm sorry for Valentina.
But even so, isn't it strange that my mother said that Valentina met her friend and decided to go on a trip with her?
Yes.
I see.
They seem to think that we will pay for everything, and they didn't even bring their wallets. They'll be in trouble when we leave.
Is it okay to do that? I was happy that they said that, but if they took my side, the relationship between the family would be completely ruined. However, Cyrus laughed nonchalantly despite my anxiety.
It's okay. My father and I were dissatisfied with those two from the beginning. And I won't forgive them for hurting Valentina.
I cried out of happiness and relief.
I'm sorry until now. I couldn't help you even though you were suffering.
But I know Valentina was the one who had been cooking until now. She said she made it herself, but her cooking isn't that good, so I noticed.
My father-in-law also said that and smiled kindly. So we left my mother-in-law and Cecilia behind at the hotel and went back to my in-laws' house. By the time we got home, my mother-in-law finally called Cyrus. But Cyrus ignored it. Then my father-in-law received a call, but he ignored it too. Then I received a call.
Where are you now?
My mother-in-law shouted. I'm already home, I replied.
How did you get home?
Cyrus and my father-in-law came to pick me up, so I was able to come home.
What? How did that happen?
My mother-in-law started shouting, so I handed the phone over to Cyrus.
I know that you've been harassing Valentina until now. And I knew you were planning to leave Valentina behind at the rest stop this time.
What?
Also, I know that you've been tricking money out of me and my father for a while.
No, that's not true.
My mother-in-law was flustered on the phone. Apparently, the two of them had been asking for money from my father-in-law and Cyrus by making up various reasons. And they had been buying whatever they wanted with that money.
Cyrus and I have had enough. Neither of you should ever come back.
Finally, my father-in-law said that and hung up the phone. After that, the two of them called us many times, but we didn't answer. The two of them who couldn't return from the hotel left secretly in the middle of the night and returned home by taxi. Since they didn't have any money, Cyrus and my father-in-law had to pay for the hotel and taxi. In exchange, they decided to kick the two of them out of the house. The two of them cried to me until the end, but of course I couldn't forgive them.
I'll never forget what you did to me, and I won't forgive you. What are we supposed to do now? We don't even have jobs.
That's why you should work. Is Cecilia planning to stay unemployed forever? We sent her to college, and she's still not working.
Well, that's...
From now on, live on your own strength.
After that, my father-in-law divorced my mother-in-law and cut off ties with Cecilia. Now they live in a shabby apartment, working part-time jobs and living a frugal life. On the other hand, I live a relaxed life with my father-in-law and Cyrus. I enjoy doing housework without being harassed. I am truly grateful to my father-in-law and Cyrus for choosing me over my mother-in-law and Cecilia.
How was today's story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.